Barca dropped points in back-to-back games and a snooze fest in Milan.
A sacked manager in the Prem. Bayern keep rolling and UEFA competitions are back, baby.
Let's dig in. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Snooze, and we are here with not a full family this time around, but we do have Danny P hanging out on the ones and twos, and of course, my boy, Hype Man Vic. Hype Man, what you sipping on, dog?
Today, we are going with the straight pour, a healthy pour, I might add to that, of
Three Fingers,
Cooper.
Is that what you say?
Yeah, the Three Fingers, that's an actual, brand. It's supposed to be that way, but, I mean, obviously not that much. I'll get absolutely trashed. But this is Cooper Family Barrel Reserve Rye. Me and Danny P in the back made a trip to Houston this past weekend. Saw this place that said whiskey on it. On the way to Houston, went and saw the Titans beat up on Houston, and then on the way back, we stopped at that whiskey place, and it is a whole whiskey place. Like, they make their own whiskey. Well, they don't distill it, but they bottle it, they blend it there, and we got a flight. We got a couple of drinks, and this is the one I wanted to bring home. This is one of the best ones they had. It's pretty damn good. I mean, I had Daniel going with some tasting notes and stuff.
Okay. Well, just for everybody there, we all our audience, we don't condone drinking and driving by any means. So, they were there for a while before they took off. Just to verify, okay.
And we also ate,
exactly. And before we jump into this week, we got a lot to talk about in the world of soccer. We're going to talk about the world of American football for a second, because y'all took a road trip to go see the lowly Tennessee Titans take on the mighty Houston Texans. And Danny P's boys from Tennessee got it done. They got the win.
He did, yeah. And he was like, I'm 2-0 now, because we also went to a game in Dallas. And I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, obviously. And Tennessee beat us in Dallas. And then now they beat Houston in Houston. So he's like, I'm 2-0 now. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. We need to stop that.
Great.
We need to stop going to these.
That's got to feel good. Hey, all three of our teams won. I know you didn't ask, but I had a particularly great weekend this weekend too. It was set up to be really horrible. Spurs were playing City, Packers are playing the Niners, and I was just like, dude, this is not going to be fun. But yeah, got the sweep in those wins. Your team got a win, of course. The Cowboys beating the Commanders. Will be give them the right name.
We will get to it later, but again, I appreciate your contribution, your team's contribution to Liverpool's championship season this year.
Yes,
Manchester City.
Yeah, we have a lot
in that soon, but appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it was a great weekend. Great weekend. We even went to a little German beer garden here close to Austin, outside of Georgetown, I think is what it's called, Wahlberg. Had a big old pint. It was awesome. It was just a great weekend overall. And like I was saying, we have a lot to get into. So let's dig in. First, start with the Wrexham recap. Yes, the Wrexham recap. Up the town. Is that what they say? Wrexham, they get back to their winning ways as they beat Exeter City 3-0. Max Cleworth, is that how you say that? Gets a header from a corner for the first goal. Ollie Palmer gets a header of his own a few minutes later. And finishing off the hat trick of headers was Oliver Rathbone. And I dare you to try to find a more British name than Oliver Rathbone. On the broadcast, they said that 21 points from a possible 24 at home in League One is their best ever start to a season in the first 8 home matches, which is huge. Of course, you know, the race course, they've been doing a lot of work on that, and that place is a fortress right now. I saw some empty seats there, so maybe we'll have to get up there. I thought the tickets would be really impossible to get to, but yeah, we'll have to go see a Wrexham game soon. Of course, Hype Man Vic needs to watch the show before we go, so he knows what the heck we're talking about. But
I'll watch it on the flight. Over there.
Hey, there you go. And that win brings Wrexham back into second in the League One table with 31 points. That's 4 points off the league leaders, Wycombe. And next up in League One is Lincoln City. And that match for Wrexham happens actually, as this recording, probably when you see it today, on Tuesday, but for me, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, they take on Lincoln, who are currently 7th place in the League One table. So should be a good one, and hopefully they get that win and continue to, do the unthinkable and try to get 3 consecutive promotions in a row and get into the championship, which is just ridiculous to even fathom. It's way too early for me to even wrap my mind around that. But they have a good chance of getting higher and higher up inside this League One table. Okay, that is it for the Wrexham recap. And now I think we need to get to a little bit bigger. I was to say bigger, better. That's rude to Wrexham. Okay, wow. We need to get on to the leagues in Europe. How about that? We'll put it that way.
We could,
because there was a lot that went on. We're back, like we were saying, we're back to our regularly scheduled, no international breaks, just a bunch of games coming up. And actually, because it's the winter fixtures, there's going to be a hell of a lot of games coming up. Like we have the UEFA competitions, like Vic was saying earlier, that are going on this midweek. But then we also have midweek games pretty much through the new year. It's insane. There's going to be at least a game every day until then, it feels like. So, let's jump in. Vic, where do you want to go first?
Let's go to where we just came back from, in Italia.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we are in Italia, as Vic just said. And of course, there's a lot of games that went on. We talked about it going into match day 13. This is. And yeah, we're going to go through each one of these, but just know that the lunch bet is not going to happen, and you'll find out why in a second. So Saturday in Serie A, Inter got 5 goals in the first half and coast into second to get the 5-0 win over Verona. Sorry. That keeps them 1 point behind Napoli at the top of the table. And while Hype Man Vic and I had a lunch bet on a game between Milan and Juventus, it was a pretty boring 0-0 draw. Juve are pretty beat up with injuries right now, and Fonseca didn't really have his Milan team to get out there and take the game by the horns, if you will. I wasn't impressed by what he did in this one, but it was a 0-0 draw. No one lost points there. Atalanta are on fire right now. They've been on fire. They continue to be on fire as they get a 3-1 win over Parma. That's now 7 Serie A wins in a row for the ATL, and this makes for a very, very interesting Scudetto race as we go towards the halfway point in the season. I mean, we're not there yet, but we're getting real close. Sunday sees Genoa and Cagliari play out a 2-2 draw, which doesn't really help either of them, but the good thing for them is that nobody is in the bottom got a 6. Sorry, in the bottom 6 got a win, and so no harm, no foul. Our Fiorentina take care of business against Como and get a 2-0 win to take their Serie A winning streak to 7 games. This is getting ridiculous. Moiskin, as they say, gets another goal, giving him 7 goals in his last 4 Serie A matches that he's played. There's one in between. He was hurt. So, yes, I know. But the last 4 that he's been in, 7 goals in them. And Fiorentina, our Viola, are flying right now. Torino and Monza played out to a fairly even 1-1 draw. Monza will take any points at this point in the season because they are in that relegation scrap. And Danny P's favorite striker, Lukaku's goal was the difference in Napoli's 1-0 win over Roma, spoiling Claudio Ranieri's return to Roma. Napoli continue to hold on to that top spot in Serie A, but it is getting tight, boys. Lazio get their 5th win in a row. Our Lazio against Bologna in a 3-0 whooping. They take advantage of a first half red card, and for Bologna, they continue to ride that struggle bus. On Monday, which is today, Empoli and Udinese split the points at a 1-1 draw. Udinese comes away happier because this draw ends their 3-game losing skid. They'll take any points at this point. And the Milkmen, Lecce, get a much-needed win against Venezia, and that takes them out of the relegation zone, I believe. Vic will confirm here in a second. And this one ends Lecce 1, Venezia 0. Vic, what does that table look like?
Yeah, and if we take a look at the table, not much has quite changed up at top. We do have Napoli in the front, are at the number 1 spot with 29 points. Then Atalanta, Inter Milan, and Fiorentina round out the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spot with 28 points. And Lazio just tickling the top 4 with 28 as well. Of course, behind just on goal differential to Fiorentina. At the bottom, you are right. You will not see our milkman Lecce because they did get a win, giving them 12 points. And the 18th spot, first spot in relegation, is Como with 10 points. Monza has 9 points behind them in the 19th spot, and still struggling to get their shield updated on the table. There is Venezia with 8 points, holding up the rest of the table. And man, it's not going good. They're on a 3-game losing streak. And really hurting, but maybe we'll add that in there. I'm starting to feel bad now. I'll just like put their shield over that or something like that.
Find a picture. Put a picture of Drake because he's gave him the jerseys or
Yeah.
or Buzio. A little picture of Buzio's face in there.
Yeah, I gotta find something. Yeah.
Anyway, well, appreciate that, Vic. Let's talk about a couple of things here. So instead of talking about specific matches that happen, I wanted to talk about all the craziness because, as Vic was just showing you, there's a lot of really close races going on, the top and the bottom, and we're going to talk about them right now. So the top 6 in Serie A is ridiculous, and 4 points separates first place from 6th place, which is insane. All the European places are separated by 4 points. But let's dig into some stats, though, shall we?
We shall.
Yeah, that's magic, right? The top 6 have a combined 49 wins and just 10 losses in the first 13 match days, which means the top 6 is just whooping that ass. Atalanta have won 6 in a row in all competitions and 7 straight Serie A wins. Inter have only 1 loss in Serie A and have been unbeaten since losing to Milan on September 22nd. That's 11 straight games without a loss for them. Fiorentina also have lost only once this season in Serie A, and that was to Atalanta on September 15th. And as we mentioned earlier, they're currently riding a 7-game winning streak in Serie A. And then it's Lazio in 5th that are riding a 7-game winning streak of their own in all competitions and 5th straight wins and 5 straight wins in Serie A. And wrapping up the European places is Juve, who have the least amount of wins in the top 6, but they are also the only unbeaten team left in Serie A. They don't have a single loss. And all of that, I mean, if your 6th place team hasn't had a single loss in Serie A, that tells you that it's a pretty good race right now. It's going to be a wild second half of the season. But in the next 2 match days, we get Fiorentina versus Inter, Atalanta versus Milan, Juve versus Bologna, Napoli versus Lazio. So there will undoubtedly be some movement. But man, just as far as it's going right now, it's been, like I said a couple of weeks ago, this is the first time I've followed Serie A like really closely, match day in, match day out. And it's freaking awesome. It's really cool to see how close these teams are at the moment. Napoli's lead just keeps shrinking and shrinking every table. Every time Vic pulls up that table, it's a little bit closer.
Yep. And they're all just biting at them too. 28, 28, 28, 28, all right behind them.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like, crazy. That is insane. What the inverse of the top of the table is also very close. So it's entertaining, but albeit in a different kind of way, as 4 points also separates 20th place from 13th place. So really, there's only a few points that difference in this whole table. And in the last 40 matches from those teams, between the 20th and 13th ranked teams or place teams, there are only 5 wins. So that's 5 wins in 40 matches between all of those teams. So that tells you why they're towards the bottom of the table. I honestly don't know who outside of Venezia that I would put my money on going down. It seems like Venezia is almost a sure lock. Unless they do something in the January window to kind of change this up, I don't really see them doing it. But yeah, I really don't know who else is going down with them. But we really will start to get some clarity in the next few match days, because like I was saying, with the winter brings a lot of match days fast and furious. Is that a way to put it? I don't know. But we should see a little bit of a shakedown a bit and see who's going up at the top and the bottom. But overall, that's what I wanted to talk about, is how interesting the Serie A tables have been and how much parity there is at the top and the bottom of this league. We're what, 14 going into the 14th match day, and I have no idea who's going to win. And I have an idea of one team that's getting relegated, but the rest of them not so much. So yeah, good on you, Serie A. This is a good season, fun times. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Okay, well, let's not throw a curveball to Danny P. Where should we go next?
How about you pick then, since I'm throwing the curveball? Because
okay,
I'm going Spanish, but
I'm feeling that too. Okay, to La Liga.
There we go. I like it.
All righty. Oops, sorry. Had to click to the right one here. La Liga, match day 14. Let's dig in a bit. So on Friday, Getafe get a big win over Vix Valladolid, Volidoli, as he says. And if I heard correctly, Getafe scored their first goal from open play this season in this one. This is match day 14, people. Either way, this one ends Getafe 2, you almost got me to say it. Valladolid 0. Saturday, we saw Valencia get a big 4-2 win at the Mestalla against Betis. It was their first match back since the devastating floods. And what a day to get their second win of the season against Betis. That was such a cool thing to see if you watch the highlights. It was very emotional. They had a lot of tributes at the beginning of the game. Really cool to see them win that one. Atleti get an 85th minute winner from Sorloth to finish 2-1 against Alaves. Atleti seemed to be making it harder than it needed to be, as they usually do. But they got the win, and as the wise man once said, we say it often here, points is points. Girona extend their winning streak to 3 games as they beat bottom feeder Espanyol, and have Girona finally started to turn a corner. We'll talk more about that in a sec. Mallorca and Las Palmas had all the excitement in this one as Mallorca get a 3-2 win. Mallorca were down a man and got a stoppage time winner thanks to a free kick given inside the 6-yard box. What a game. Watch the highlights. It's kind of crazy. Barcelona and Celta Vigo split the points in a 2-2 draw. Barcelona led this one 2-0 up until the 84th minute. And they end up getting a 2-2 draw. We'll talk more about that one here in a second. Sunday, we talked a lot about this one going in, but Ante Budomir's first half brace wasn't enough as Villarreal stormed back in the second half to split the points with a 2-2 draw. That is 2 for Osasuna, 2 for Villarreal. And then we have Sevilla getting much-needed 3 points against Rayo Vallecano in a match that ends 1-0. Don't have any more notes on that one. Sevilla, good on you. Leganés fall to Real Madrid 3-0. The Madridistas, as they say, got what they wanted as Mbappe scored, but the assist came from Vinny Jr. Look at them hooking up. Bellingham scored, and Arda Güler got the start. And was a threat the entire match. That guy is so good, and if he's not going to start for them, he's going to be starting for someone else very soon. Just wow, what a good game to see. All the good feels coming from Madrid. Bilbao got a Basque derby win as they beat Real Sociedad 1-0 at San Mamés, and what a game it was. The crowd was insane. The energy was off the charts, and I bet that's going to do some shake-up in the table. So, Vic, please show us what it looks like.
Well, the top is what almost everybody else always sees. Barcelona with 34 points in the number 1 spot. Real Madrid and then Atletico Madrid are in the second and third. Not much of a change up there. Real Madrid have 30 points and Atletico Madrid have 29 points. In the 4th spot is Villarreal with 25 points. So they're going to the Champions League. I don't know if you can see the little Champions League kind of logo so y'all can kind of see it. But hopefully going to the Champions League. And then tickling the top 4 is Bilbao in the 5th spot and fighting for a Europa spot, but trying to get in the Champions League. And we'll see how they do from there. If we look at the bottom, Valencia is not on the bottom. They're in the 18th spot with a win, bringing their total up to 10 points. They also have 2 games in hand, obviously, because of what was going on. And then Espanyol is also tied in the 19th spot with 10 points. And then my poor Volidolis, Real Valladolid, are now holding up the entire table with 9 measly points going in after 14 games. Guys, let's get it together, man. Come on. I like saying your name. I need to say it for a lot longer next season as well. So get it together.
We won't be covering La Liga B or 2 or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I think it's Serie B, and then this one's La Liga 2. Anyway, yeah. That was a cool nickname you gave them too. So, but on accident. It's like an organic nickname. Those don't come up often.
Yeah.
So
Volidolis. I like it.
Volidoli. Okay, well, let's jump into some talking points that we alluded to earlier. You don't also if you heard me cough, I apologize. I was drinking water and just went down the wrong tube. Just dying over here as you're doing the table, like trying to mute myself as soon as possible. That's my bad. But Girona seem to be getting things going in La Liga as they are now on their third game. Winning streak is up to 3 games, I guess I should say. In that winning streak, they have got 9 goals for and 4 goals against, which is way better than they were doing towards the beginning of the season. Obviously, if they're going to go far, they're going to need to shore up that defensive side of the ball. But they're starting to find their shooting boots, as they say, and that in La Liga especially can really get them to go far. But they are really going to need to turn up in all areas of their game because they have Villarreal, Real Madrid, and Liverpool in 3 of their next 4 matches. Now, obviously, Liverpool's in the Champions League, which they do have an outside chance of kind of finishing in those top or in the mid. I don't even know what we want to call it. Like at the middle 17 or whatever freaking
amount of playoff round, like the wild card round for all the Americans here. It's kind of like the wild card.
Pretty much like the wild card round. Yeah. They have an outside chance of getting in there, but not with Liverpool on the docket. I mean, they have Sturm Graz next, like as in like tomorrow next, but Liverpool after that is that's going to be tough. So either way, the way they're starting to play in La Liga at least is just really good compared to where they were earlier this season. And next, we got to talk about the crazy Barcelona-Celta game because Barca and Celta, it started like we all assumed it would, which is pretty much Barca getting out to a 2-0 lead. As soon as you see Barca with a 2-0 lead against a team that isn't one of the top teams in the world, you just assume that, it's going to be ending with a win. But it even continued to the 84th minute, as I said earlier. They had 2-0 lead in the 84th minute, and then the meltdown happened. And here was what happened in that meltdown. In the 82nd minute, Mark Casado gets sent off for a second yellow card. And a little over a minute later, Jules Koundé mishandles a ball being passed back to him and is pounced on by Alfonso Gonzalez, who gets Celta's first goal. And if you watch this, you're like, this does not look like a Barcelona-level defender. You don't see this happen often. It just really sloppy. I mean, I don't understand how it happened. When you watch the replay, it looks like he legitimately took his eye off the ball, miskicked it, and it kind of went into the Alfonso Gonzalez's path. But either way, 2 minutes after that, 2 minutes later, Hugo Alvarez gets another goal for Celta to come away with the points to level Celta. And it was just smooth, calm, and collective on the ball. Great goal. We really haven't seen Barcelona implode like this in a while, especially not this season. And now that's 2 matches without Lamine Yamal and 2 matches without a win. So really just starting to show how important he is to this team. Obviously, he wouldn't be the one blocking those shots or anything like that defensively. That's not what I'm saying. It's just they're playing differently. They don't have the same dominant vibe that they did when he was on the pitch. And it's crazy. He's 17 years old. Like, how does he mean that much? But I promise you, he's on the pitch. They don't lose this game. So either way, crazy times in Barcelona. They've, like I said, dropped 2 in a row because Madrid are kind of on a streak right now. They've caught up. That's 4 points they've gotten on them in the past 2 match days. And they keep rolling. Okay. That's it for La Liga. I think. Let's go ahead and take off to Germany.
Sounds good. To Bundesliga. I gotta admit, man, I was pretty jealous when I saw you with that stein of beer. That looked pretty damn good whenever you sent us that picture.
Yes.
Took me back to the Oktoberfest days. And
if you didn't know, it was a Helles as well, which is the main one that we were taught is what they drink at Oktoberfest in Munich. Right. So had me a Helles. Great weekend. But let's dig into some of these Bundesliga matches from match day 11. On Friday, Bayern get a 3-0 win against Augsburg, but this wasn't as dominant as the scoreline implies. Bayern didn't get their first goal until Kane's 61st minute penalty, and the other 2 goals that came from Kane were after the 90th minute. This is insane. I just didn't see this game going like this, but what I will say is if you haven't seen Kane's hat trick goal, his 3rd goal, it was filthy, like disgusting. Please go watch it. And I miss this man so much from a Spurs point of view. On Saturday, we had Dortmund. They, in dominant fashion, took care of Freiburg, and it wasn't even close. Dortmund continued to be a riddle this season, but on the other hand, Freiburg just can't seem to get it done against the big boys in Germany. We hyped this one up before going into it, saying that maybe Freiburg can show something here against Dortmund, who are kind of wishy-washy. Dortmund, they silenced the haters on this one. Wolfsburg, they got a 1-0 win over Union Berlin. And for Wolfsburg, that's now 2 wins in a row, and they only had 2 wins in their first 9 matches. For Union, that's now 1 win in their last 5 Bundesliga matches as they continue to slide down the table. Heidenheim were flying high against Leverkusen as they got out to a 2-0 start in the first 20 minutes of this match, but the champs were singing la 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 as they get 5 unanswered goals to win this one 5-2. Leverkusen stops their slide of 3 straight draws. Stuttgart took care of business against bottom of the table Bochum to get a 2-0 win, and it was a much needed 3 points for Stuttgart, while Bochum are fully stuck at the bottom of the table for now. And in a shocker, Hoffenheim get a 4-3 win over a team that were second in La Liga, in the Bundesliga at the start of this match day week. That's Leipzig. And for a team in Hoffenheim who looked dead in the water after he sacked their manager, they scored 4 goals against a team in Leipzig that had the best goals against in the league. They hadn't allowed 4 goals all season, and Hoffenheim gets it done. What you talk about a new coach bump? That's what it looks like right there, folks. Eintracht Frankfurt get a home win against Werder Bremen 1-0. The goal comes from our old friend Mario Götze. You might remember him from the World Cup winning goal against Argentina. Mainz extend their winning streak to 2 games as they beat Holstein Kiel 3-0, and Gladbach get their 4th home win in a row as they beat St. Pauli 2-0. More on Gladbach in a second. Vic, what does that table look like?
Yeah, well, the table looks a lot like it did last week. We do have Bayern on top with 29 points, starting to run away with it, have a 6-point lead on the number 2 spot, Eintracht Frankfurt, with 23 points. RB Leipzig right behind them with 21 points, and Bayern Leverkusen round out the top 4 with 20 points. And tickling the top 4 is Borussia Dortmund, the yellow team, with 19 points. That's an inside joke. Sorry, guys, I shouldn't do that. But with 19 points in the 5th spot, trying to get into that Champions League spot. Interesting thing, though, number 6 through number 14 is separated by just 5 points from Borussia Mönchengladbach. I don't know how to say that. How do you say that? Say it for me.
Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach, yeah. Mönchengladbach. Have 17 points, and Augsburg, who's in the 14th spot, have 12 points. So 5 points separate pretty much the entire middle of the table. And nowhere close to the middle of the table is Holstein Kiel in the 17th spot with 5 points. And people and the team, yeah, and the team we have to talk about just for legal terms is Bochum with 2 points after another loss. After I thought they were going to rally after their draw from last week, but did not. Bochum in the last spot, holding up the rest of the table with 2 points.
Yeah, this Bochum team, man. It's I think I heard I might have said it last week, but it's like the worst start to a season in Bundesliga history.
It's rough
for a team that's just promoted. So yeah, 2 points. That is not a good look for them. Okay. Well, let's dig into some of these talking points here. As Vic said, Gladbach. Sorry, that was messed up. Borussia Mönchengladbach have quietly gotten their crap together after starting the Bundesliga season, losing 3 of their first 5 matches. They have gone 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss in the last 6 match days. They're unbeaten in their last 5 matches, with their last loss coming against Augsburg on the 4th of October. And they've now gotten themselves into 6th in the table, and they take on struggling Freiburg next, who are 7th, which is probably going to be a match we're going to highlight going in to this match day, because that's a big one for both of these teams. It seems like Freiburg's getting the short end of the stick with his schedule so far. It's a big match for both these clubs fighting for these European spots, and I'll be very interested to watch it. Okay, moving on to the Frankfurt-Bremen game. Frankfurt beating Bremen was important as they try to keep pace with Bayern. I don't know if this run towards the top of the table for Frankfurt is going to last all season or what's going to happen, but it's pretty cool to watch it. We talked about Marmoush being the X factor in this one. And while he did play a part in this win, he wasn't the one that scored the goal. For a team to challenge Bayern at the top of the table, you're going to need more than just one goal scoring threat. And this season, Frankfurt are showing that they are for real. They have a lot of people that can get it done from all over the pitch. In December, they face They face Heidenheim, Augsburg, Leipzig, and Mainz. So again, in December, those are their 4 opponents: Heidenheim, Augsburg, Leipzig, Mainz. They should be favorites in pretty much all of those. Maybe not the Leipzig one, but the rest of them they will be. So we could be talking about going into the winter break that they're like firmly at the top of the table. And if Bayern drop any points, because they have Dortmund coming up, they could be really, really close to getting to the top of the table. And man, this is a cool Frankfurt team to watch. They're usually in those European places. They're usually in Europe, but they're never really pushing for a Bundesliga title. But they're getting kind of close. And of course, we're not halfway through yet. There's a lot of games to be played, a lot of football left, as they say. But it's just really cool to see it. And they have the best Egyptian in the world, and we're just going to continue to see this happen. I'm just kidding. We'll talk about the real best in a second. But that is it for the Bundesliga. And with that, we are going to everybody's favorite place, apparently. Jolly old England.
To the Prem.
How's my hair? My hair looking good?
Always.
Oh, it's my boy man right there.
I'm a hype man for a reason. I mean,
well, I know we have a lot to talk about in this one. And so let's just dig into it. On Saturday in the Prem, Chelsea come away from Leicester with all 3 points in a 2-1 win. The bigger story here is that Leicester decided to sack manager Steve Cooper after losing their match to former Leicester boss Enzo Maresca, who's now the manager at Chelsea. We'll talk more about that in a second. Alex Iwobi's amazing goal was not enough for Fulham as they fall at home to Wolves 4-1. Cunha was the main man for Wolves as he gets a brace and an assist in this one. That's 2 wins in a row for Wolves to bring them out of the relegation zone. And hello, Wolves, they're ready to play. Everton and Brentford finish 0-0, which is a better result for Everton than Brentford. Curse of the commentator in the opening seconds of this one. In the opening seconds of this one, the commentator says, in the previous 12 iterations of this match at Goodison Park, there has been a winner. So history says that we'll get a winner here, and there was not a winner here. Arsenal get back on track after thoroughly dominating Forest 3-0. More on this one later. We'll dig in. In the battle for the South Coast, Brighton hold on to get a 2-1 win at Bournemouth. The Cherries hit the post with the last kick of the game, and that was all she wrote. 2 wins in a row for Brighton, and they are now in the European places firmly. Crystal and Villa go 2-2, and Villa had to come back twice in this one, with the hero being one Ross Barkley, the Everton legend. I think Danny P has a jersey for Ross Barkley. Kit. Final match on Saturday was Spurs at City, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but City were thoroughly dominated by Spurs at home, and we'll talk about more of this in a second. Sunday, the 13-year skid continues as top in the Prem wins against bottom in the Prem as Liverpool beats Southampton 3-2. Salah gets his brace, and even though Liverpool didn't play their best defensively, particularly on that second goal, doesn't matter. They found a way to win and get it done. Ruben Amorim's first match in charge of Manchester United ends 1-1 with Ipswich. And it started off so well with Rashford scoring a goal in the first 2 minutes of this one. But Omari Hutchinson's ridiculous goal was enough to split the points for Ipswich. And on Monday, 8th place Newcastle take on 14. Oh, that's not the right note there. Sorry, guys. Today, West Ham beats Newcastle in a game that really Newcastle should have been winning, but West Ham were just there. They were there the entire time. And it was really cool to see them get back on the horse, the winning horse. Is that a thing? Is there a horse that wins? I don't know.
Gotta be.
Gotta be, sure. And that's what it looked like for the Prem in match day 12. Vic, what does that table look like?
I'll tell you what, it looks absolutely fantastic. Number 1 spot, 8 point lead heading to the championship. I need to stop saying that. I'm gonna curse it as well.
Yeah, I know, right?
Liverpool has 31 points. In second place is Manchester City with 23 points, who have just absolutely fallen into shambles. I don't hope they get it together, but I feel like they will, and they will get a little bit more competitive as we go. Chelsea are in the 33rd spot, the third spot with 22 points. Arsenal also have 22 points in the fourth spot, and Brighton have also have 22 points in the fifth spot, fighting for Europa and trying to get in the Champions League. Tottenham Hotspur tickling the top 5. Just want to call out Tottenham since we appreciate your work you did this weekend. And with 19 points, I cannot talk right now. So let's see how they do and see if they can compete and get into some competitions next year. If we take a look at the bottom of the table, you'll find Ipswich Town with 9 points. They're in the 18th spot. Crystal Palace in the 19th spot with 8 points. And Southampton, sorry to do it to you boys. You got 4 points. Couldn't give you any more with a fresh loss from Liverpool, holding up the rest of the table in the 20th spot. And I don't like doing this. I don't like giving any kind of awards to Manchester United, but they do earn the Thanos Perfectly Balanced Award for this week. And this late in the year, 12 weeks in, it's pretty impressive. They have 4 wins, 4 losses, 4 draws, 13 goals for, 13 goals against, and have 16 points. Everything perfectly balanced and even going into the 13th week. So, again, don't like to give them any credit, but it's just pretty unique. Good job, Manchester United. You did something.
There's only been like one other team that's had that, right? Or maybe there was 2.
There were 2 at one point, but that like early in the season, it's a little bit easier. I mean, we're 12 games in. It's like it's pretty crazy, especially the goal differential being 0, 13-4, and 13. So
we need to have a Thanos award. Like
I need to create a graphic or something. Yeah.
Yes. And we'll keep a table of how many there are. But
yeah,
that's pretty crazy. I didn't realize that. Well, yeah. I guess for Huban Amarim, as they say, that's you can't get a much cleaner slate to start off your managerial career at Manchester United than that. I mean, wow. Okay. Well, let's dig into some of these points here. We have a little bit more to talk about in the Prem this time around. And we'll start off with some bad news. As we mentioned earlier, Steve Cooper is out in Leicester after just 12 matches in the Prem. And in those matches, he went 2 wins, 4 draws, 6 losses, with a -8 goal differential, which all sounds horrible. But the reason why it comes as a surprise to many is the fact that of the promoted teams this season, Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester are currently the only team that's not in the relegation zone. So weird. And not only that, but since Steve Cooper was just hired earlier this year, what was the plan? Like, what was your expectations for hiring him as a newly promoted team?
Yeah, tough crowd. Damn.
Like, what do you want from him?
Yeah.
Surely nothing more than Premier League survival was the goal. Like, there's no way that you set the bar like as mid-table for a team that's just getting in. Maybe, I don't know, but it just seems a little weird. But here's the thing that I was listening to a couple of podcasts and reading something about this, and most of the signs point to the main reason for the shock firing of Steve Cooper is the disconnect that he had with the Leicester fans. And in case you don't remember, Steve Cooper was the manager in charge of Forest when they had their incredible run to the Premier League a couple of years ago, and in the first couple seasons in the Prem. If you don't know, Leicester and Forest are fierce rivals. They hate each other. So, of course, the fans, they're not really going to get behind a guy that just came from the enemy. And it's not confirmed that this is the reason, but surely ownership knew who he was and where he was coming from before bringing him in. And what now for Leicester is the question. Like, do we see things getting better? Do we think that they're going to replace him and start winning games? I don't know. But Vic, it seems like they're going to go down.
Yeah, and take a moment to think about the new manager again that's going to come in. What expectations they have for him? Like, what do you expect me to do with this team? Like, what's going on? Like, it's going to be a tough shoes to fill, and pretty hard, in my thoughts anyway. But
the good thing is that Jamie Vardy is always there, so yeah. You're going to get a goal at least. Okay, well, I would say R.I.P., but that's not right. He didn't die. Stevie Cooper, we'll see you later, man. Okay, moving on. We highlighted going into this weekend that the Gunners were coming into this one not having won in their past 4 Premier League matches in the Prem, if you will. With a healthy Saka and Odegaard, they got right back on track and back into their groove. They were the difference here, linking up for the first goal and then Saka assisting the second. And with the congested winter schedules coming right around the corner, Arsenal and their fans, all the Gunners around the world, are happy to see that their squad is getting healthier just in time. Forest, on the other hand, feels like their magic run towards the European places could be coming to an end sooner rather than later, because in their next 7 Premier League matches, they have to play City, United, Villa, and Spurs. And the other 3 matches that I didn't say are Ipswich, Brentford, and Everton. So no cakewalks, really. Like, that's pretty tough. Ipswich, for as low as they are in the table, they are playing better recently. And Forest is coming up against a murderer's row, as some people will say. And it could get ugly really quick for them. If you're a Forest fan, I'm not a hater. I'm just saying it's looking pretty dim. Let's start the discussion for City and Spurs, because I, for one, am very happy about that. And let me give you some stats, Vic. How about that? You want some stats about it? I know. Yeah, I bet you are.
I'm pretty happy.
City are the first reigning champions. I heard all these on different podcasts, read all kinds of stuff, and it just, not that I'm a City hater, but it just warms my heart. Okay, here we go. City are the first reigning champion to lose 5 in a row since Chelsea did this in 1956. So the reigning champion to lose 5 in a row. It hadn't happened since the 50s. This is City's first home loss in 53 matches, which is insane. And 4-0 is their biggest defeat ever at the Etihad.
Oh, man.
They are just not the same team without Rodri. Danny P and I were texting about this not too long ago. And they're just not the same team without Rodri running that midfield. And I heard the stat that City's loss percentage, so the percentage of matches they lose with Rodri in the team, is 2.6%, which is ridiculous. Like, so they essentially just hardly ever lose with Rodri. But without Rodri in the midfield, their loss percentage goes from 2.6 to 35.7. So obviously he is a big part of what they do there. And it's going to get even worse with Liverpool at Anfield coming up next. This is going to be, I mean, if they're 11 points behind Liverpool, like, it's pretty much a wrap at that point. Because it's either 11 or 5, right? If they get a win or if they get a loss. So, man, drawing's probably their best outcome. But if you're Liverpool and you get this win, it's pretty much game over until Spurs start charging up that table and catch them.
It's going to be weird because I think whenever you're thinking about the top of the table, it's like, oh shit, what does Liverpool have? What does Manchester? Whatever. And then so if we win, and then Chelsea wins, then Chelsea's the number 2 seed. I'm like, oh, how do we have to beat Chelsea? It's weird not to see Manchester City there. Like, it's crazy. And then us, we're always chasing Manchester City too. So I'm not saying it's completely one-sided and Liverpool are the best, but it's just weird to see that shift going on where we have to worry about other teams now.
Yeah, I imagine that they're probably going to just buy someone that's close to the type of player that they get from Rodri in the January window. Because you think, like, we're only 4 or 5 match days in the Prem, maybe 6 before the January 1st transfer window opens. And so then I imagine they'll bring someone in because they can't, like, I mean, I know it's against Liverpool, but can you see City losing 6 in a row? That's insane. There's I don't want to say there's no way, because it's probably at this point, it's more probable that they lose to Liverpool than win. But man, I felt this way whenever they lost the last match day, because I was like, okay, now they're definitely not losing to Spurs, right? Like, they're not going to lose 5 in a row, and then it happened. So I can only imagine from a Liverpool perspective, you're just like, like, you have a confidence, but you know what I mean? Like,
come on, guys, come on, don't do this.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know. So, but it's not all about City here. Okay, let's talk about Spurs for a second. For Spurs, Kulusevski has always been a pretty good player since he came over from Juventus a few years back. But this season, he's really come into his own, and he has been by far Spurs' best player this season. The thing is, we've seen Spurs play well this season. Like, this isn't new. We've seen them beat Villa. We've seen them beat Manchester United. We've seen them beat teams that are good before. Obviously, City's quality is a bit more than those teams, but we just really haven't seen them be consistent. And I really want to see them get into a good run of form, because if beating City 4-0 on the road doesn't kind of start and be the catalyst for getting a lot of games to come in and kind of have that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the swagger, if you will, like we can do this, like to just keep it up, the confidence that they need. Then I don't know what the hell is. And I mean, honestly, if they go into this weekend and they lose, I don't know what I'm going to do, because up next they have Roma in the Europa League and then Fulham at home. And then after that, it's Bournemouth away before we get Chelsea at home. So going into that Chelsea match, if we can beat Roma, Fulham, and Bournemouth, I mean, I'll feel pretty awesome about going into that Chelsea match on the back of 4 straight wins. Because, like I was saying, going into this match day, City, I mean, I'm not trying to be like, humble bragging, but like Spurs, we beat City. Like, it happens. We're pretty good against them. Don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that that we're some awesome team. Obviously, look at the table. But what I will say is that City is a team that I'm not that nervous about, because we usually play well against them. Not to say we always win, we just play well. Now, Chelsea, on the other hand, I hate them. Like, we always play shitty against them. They always beat us. It doesn't matter, where we are, what's going on, if they're bad or if we're good or who's in form. But 4 matches from now, the way that Chelsea are playing, they might be like charging up that table, like you were saying. And it's going to be a big, big match, and it's at home. So yeah, getting this win against City, if we can take care of Roma, Fulham, and Bournemouth, that match is going to be a lot. And it'll make me really nervous. And by that time, I'll have a little baby girl. So we'll see how exciting. Hopefully, I get to watch it. I don't know how life's going to look for me coming up. Okay, we didn't even talk about Liverpool, because they got, just a routine win. It feels like they're winning all the time. What do you have to say for Liverpool before we get out of here for this segment?
Solid win. Me and Daniel woke up really early. Danny P. Sorry. Didn't mean to give some governments out here. Me and Danny P. Did get a chance to get to Houston really early and go to the Liverpool Supporters Club in Houston. Watched the game there. It was great. Had some breakfast, all that stuff. Had a couple pints like you do. And then sobered up and then drove to the game. But yeah, it was great. It was another routine win. Nothing fancy we did. I think we could have kept a goal out. That would have been more ideal, but good job. Yeah. Good job, boys.
The thing that sucked about this match the most is that, we were also watching it here, and, I kind of had it on, and I was hanging out on the couch with my 9-month pregnant wife, and, Salah scores that game winner and takes off his shirt and starts running towards the camera. And all I hear is, damn. And I'm like, God, turn this damn TV. That dude is absolutely shredded. Like, it's not
fair.
They
had a side view for a second when he was looking up at the crowd, and you could just see his abs. They were just like just straight up bam. I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. I looked at Daniel like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, this, right. What the hell? Like, this is crazy.
So my wife, I was like, that's just gross, right? Like, who would want that? Like, yeah, who would want that?
Dude, just absolutely shredded. So I don't know.
Okay, well,
so also,
enough of
shout out to Salah's abs and your ab workout. Good job.
All right, there we go. Fine. Shout out to the abs. Maybe one day we'll be blessed with one of those abs. We don't need all of those. Okay. Well, that is it for the European wrap up or reach around, whichever one you want to call it. We do have a lot more to talk about, though, and we're getting to the hour mark here, so we're going to fly through this stuff. But before we get out, let's talk about the UEFA competitions coming up this week. Okay. In the Conference League, we're just going to go over a couple of the big ones here. And actually, there is a big one as far as this show goes. We have Chelsea versus the Double H, Heidenheim. That is really cool in the Conference League. Chelsea are the first-ranked club in the Conference League table right now. Heidenheim are 6th, which if you're looking at the Bundesliga table, if you see what we've been talking about week in and week out, doesn't really make sense, but it shows you the quality that they actually do have. Just they're not showing it in the Bundesliga. But we do get to see them against Chelsea and probably a rotated Chelsea squad if I have to put money on it. But then going down, we have a couple of other matches of note. We have Real Betis versus Boleslav. Don't know where they're from, but that's pretty cool. And then we also have Copenhagen versus Dynamo Minsk. And really, I think that's going to be all it is for the conference league. There's a lot of teams that we probably won't know, but we'll probably be more interested in dig into them a bit more whenever the actual, we'll call them playoffs start. I don't know what knockout.
Yeah, the knockout.
But yeah, when we have less teams and we know which ones are kind of going to be a little bit more important to this conference league run, we'll dig more into them. Okay, that is it for the Thursday matches in the conference league. Vic, we'll have a little bit more to talk about here with the Europa League because there will be more teams that we are familiar with. Okay, so for match day 5 in Europa League, we have Besiktas versus Maccabi Tel Aviv, Anderlecht versus Porto, Dynamo Kiev versus Victoria Pilsen, Athletic Club Bilbao versus Elfsborg, Lazio versus Ludogorets, PAOK versus RFS, Karabag versus Lyon, AZ Alkmaar versus Galatasaray, who Galatasaray, we went over, man. They have such a squad. There's no way Spurs would ever beat them. That's why they lost that one. So Ferencváros, a team that we saw play Fiorentina once, versus Malmo. Real Sociedad take on Ajax, which is actually going to be a freaking awesome game. I'm excited to see that one. Eintracht Frankfurt versus Midtjylland. Hoffenheim versus Braga. Our Slavia Praha versus Fenerbahce. The tough one. Going against, I forgot his name. Whatever, the coach. We'll talk about it here in a second. Olympiacos versus FCSB, Manchester United, Glimt, Nice, Rangers, Twente, and USG, and the headliner of the Europa League, Tottenham versus Roma. Yeah, let's go. And the only matches I want to call out, Vic, is let's start first with oh crap, I just lost it. Our Slavia Prague versus Fenerbahce. So right now, Slavia Prague, they're not doing good. You know how massive these tables are now. There's 36 teams in them. They are 23rd. They're hanging on, or as you say, tickling. No, it's tickling the top. It's not tickling the bottom.
Yeah.
What's good for the bottom though?
Holding up the table.
Oh, that's true.
That's
okay.
Usually, yeah.
Well, they're mid-table, so you know.
Yeah, they're 23rd. It's not terrible. 23rd out of 36. They're still going to make it to the wild card round.
Well, yeah, we'll call it the wild card round.
Yeah.
But my point was that they're playing against Fenerbahce, who are 21st. So this is a big one, especially for Slavia Prague, who we know has some talent on the team. And Fenerbahce, they seem like a team that this should be a fairly even match. But they get Slavia Prague gets Fenerbahce at home, so that's going to be fun. Definitely going to tune in for this one. This is also, I didn't even mention it. All these games are on Thanksgiving. So you're talking about, we get afternoon football and we get like the real football. I was talking about European soccer football is the real one. Just so don't come after me. I was saying that one was the real one, and American football. I know, right? But yeah, it's going to be an awesome time on Thanksgiving. And then another one I want to talk about, Real Sociedad versus Ajax. So Real Sociedad, they have turned it on in La Liga. Obviously, they lost in the Basque Derby this weekend, but they are going against Ajax. And for Sociedad, it's a big match because Ajax are sitting second in that table, and we have Real Sociedad in 25th. So, you know, Vic, this is they're a Basque club. They're not the one that you are supporting because I know you're a Bilbao truther over here. But either way, it's just a big match if they're going to try to get back into this competition. There's no reason why a team like Sociedad shouldn't be in those playoff spots. There's a lot of teams that we know or we're familiar with in the Europa League, and that's one of them that just needs to be up there. It just seems like if they get knocked out in this early of this competition, probably not going to be good for them. I would say as far as Tottenham goes with Roma, not really too worried about it because we talked about it a second ago. Claudio Ranieri's taken over a team that is circling the drain, if you will. And Tottenham gets him at home. But I don't know. For some reason, it's just like there's no consistency, you know? Like I want
Mm-hmm.
to win, but it's just until it happens, I'm going to be nervous the whole time. Hopefully they don't rotate the squad or anything like that. Vic's dying over here. He's getting over the cold, by the way. Oh, I didn't even mention, we didn't even say this in any time so far in the podcast, but just know that Vic's trip didn't end like he hasn't been home all day.
Yeah,
like an hour ago.
Yeah, I barely got home, so I had time to just put some stuff away and unwind just a little bit. But
see, he's doing it.
Pretty good 24 hours. We're good. We're good.
My boy's pushing through it. So, yeah, we'll get out of here for his sake really soon. But yes, Tottenham take on Roma at 2:00 on Thursday. And now for the main event, let's move on down to the Champions League. In the Champions League, and of course, we're not showing you the table because we haven't really quite found a way to show you the 36 team table that there is yet. But I will say that, Vic, do you want to tell me who's at the top of this one?
I'll give you 2 guesses, but it's at the top of the Premier League as well. Liverpool, the only team that have won every game so far. So not bad.
One thing I will say about the Champions League table, and the reason why they made the competition how it is now this season is to make it a little bit more even, to make it to where it's not just very top end heavy with all the best teams. And I was very skeptical about that going in because, like, how is it going to do that? Like, show me the tangible rewards for what you're telling us this is going to do. Well, look at the table. Liverpool 1, Sporting Lisbon number 2, Monaco number 3, Brest number 4. I mean, the top 4 is teams that you would not. I mean, that's no offense to Liverpool, but
3 of the top.
You maybe expect 3 of the top 4. You would not expect them to be this far up the table, and it's just crazy to see. It's really cool. I mean, after that is Inter, Barcelona, Dortmund, Villa, who you wouldn't expect to see, Atalanta, Man City. So I mean, there's the top 10. It does have a lot of teams that you expect to be there, but just to be 3 of the top 4, Sporting, Monaco, Brest, that just speaks to what they're trying to do here. And yes, a lot of people hate it because of the fixture congestion, but if that's what you're getting, then that's what they wanted. And let's call out a few of the top games here. There's actually, weirdly enough, there's not a lot of big time games in this Champions League match day. But we do have Milan versus Bratislava, Sparta Praha versus Atletico Madrid, City versus Feyenoord, Barcelona versus Brest, Bayern PSG, Inter Leipzig, Young Boys versus Atalanta, Leverkusen and Salzburg, Sporting Arsenal. We have Red Star Belgrade versus Stuttgart, Sturm Graz. Sturm Graz. Sturm. Yeah, Sturm. I'm going to have to get some help with that one. Aston Villa versus Juventus, Monaco, Benfica, PSV, Shakhtar Donetsk, Celtic versus Club Brugge, Bologna versus Lille, Dinamo Zagreb versus Dortmund, and the final one, the match of the match day, the highlight, the cream of the crop. Okay, I'll stop saying those. Liverpool versus Real Madrid at Anfield, by the way. Vic, how are you? Can you wait for this one? Are you excited for this one? Like, what are you feeling?
I'm excited for it, but I do have to travel to Odessa. I will probably be on the road this time. It sucks.
For people that aren't from Texas, traveling to Odessa to miss Liverpool, Real Madrid, that's not a good ideal combination.
No, it's 6 hours away. And I don't plan on leaving directly in the morning because I can't even check in until later for my hotel. But I'll probably be on the road for this, and my internet connection's spotty at some time. So I don't know. I'll try to have it on. And
it'll probably be on XM Radio.
Yeah, I'll see. I might get XM Radio just for this trip. Let's see.
There you go. Yeah, Liverpool versus Real Madrid on Thanksgiving Eve, if that's a thing. What a match. This is going to be awesome to see. And just like we talked about a second ago, Liverpool flying high and Real Madrid getting everything back underneath them as well. Mbappe is finally on the scoring sheet. Bellingham's getting going. Arda Güler starting. Like, this is going to be fireworks. I can't wait for it. Okay, that is it from us here at the No Business Soccer Podcast. Vic, take us home.
Thank you, everyone, for spending your time with us. We hope you all are doing good and ready for these holidays. I know I'm going to get really fat, so next time you see me, I'll be even a little bit more chubbier. But Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let us know if we're missing something. Do we not call out one of your favorite conference championship final games or something like that? Please let us know. We'll be sure to cover them in the next video we have. I don't think we will have a weekend look ahead this week since it is Thanksgiving. So more than likely, see you all next week. Hope everyone has a safe and happy holidays, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.